Hey, what is up, everybody? It is the Oracle at Mushin here, coming at you with a tarot reading. I'm gonna be switching up the format a little bit because I liked the pick a card style. I might go back to it at times, but overall, I'm really reverting back to how I've originally used tarot personally as a tool of personal development, more so than a divination tool. I think that it works great as a divination tool. Don't get me wrong, but I really feel called to help people sort through their lives with tarot as a mirror for their unconscious so they can begin to work on themselves more wholly and authentically. Real quick, too, I don't know that I've ever shown this shirt on any of my videos, even on my old podcast videos. This is actually my book cover from the book I released last year, which is 10 Years of Poetry. And it's pretty sweet because it actually has two of my favorite tarot cards on it. So up here you have the Hermit, which is kind of about self-reflection, looking back on life, integrating your experience. And then on the sides, you have the Fool, always taking the step into the unknown territory. And the Fool is walking towards the Hermit. And if you look here, the Hermit is always past the Fool too, where there's an aspect of venturing forth and not always being able to integrate your total experience. I love the cover. The artwork's done by Sharia Anastasia, and the two cities on it, you would have Las Vegas represented up here, were my homage to Las Vegas through the artwork of Sharia, and then you would have Humboldt County, California, which I lived in after Las Vegas, down here. Anyhow, we're going to get into the reading. I'm using a couple different decks today. So right now we have the Taming Power of the Small. And this goes into a concept that I've talked a lot about on the Spiritual Phoenix podcast, but maybe not so much on the Oracle at Mushin page, Facebook page, or anything like that. And what that is small things have big outcomes. And when we begin to focus our energy on making small changes in life, big things can come from it. So if you look at this, you have this spider on the card. The spider is really about building this great, immense thing. The net is made up of all these individual threads that create this large composite. And this is really talking about getting in alignment in your life and really looking at what your small actions are, because lots of small actions can undermine your progress of moving forward, and lots of small actions can work towards your best interest. It's really about getting honest and clear with yourself about where your actions are coming to. And this card talks about self-restraint, self-sufficiency, careful preparations, resourcefulness, minor impediments, and adaptability. So self-restraint. Knowing that saying no to small things over a period of time has a big impact. Like if you look at it, let's say that you get Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts every day. We'll just say you have a medium priced order of $3 per cup of coffee. So 3 times 30 for 30 days in a month is 90. 90 times 12 is what? It's almost $1,000, maybe over $1,000 in a year that you spend on coffee. That's the price of a plane ticket if you get it on sale to another country. That's the price of all sorts of amazing things. So those little choices can add up into something that would be very big and substantial. And what are you going to remember more? Having a cup of coffee from Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks every day, or having that trip to wherever you would go, or investing in something, or paying off some debt with that money. And I really think that when people begin to look at life that way, it opens things up in a different way. And the last thing I'll say on this card is, prior to doing what I do now, I worked in kitchens. And a big part of managing kitchens is focusing on food cost. So food cost is the individual price that it takes to prepare things. And part of doing food costing for menu items is looking at the exact amount that you spend on things and knowing the percent, or like the actual cents. And all those little pennies that you might misattribute or misstate on the food cost of something can really make or break a whole business. And it's really understanding that in the context of your life, how these little misjudgments over a long enough period of time can impact you, or these little bits of awareness and understanding and seeing things as they really are, how much that can impact you in the positive light. I've rambled on about that long enough, but I hope that helps somebody. Next, we're going to go to the Rumi Oracle deck and see what good old Rumi has to say for us. They offered many reasons why the rose is laughing. None of them knew the truth. Its prayer has been granted by spring. This one is one of those things. Let me read this again and really digest it. They offered many reasons why the rose is laughing. None of them knew the truth. Its prayer has been granted by spring. So it's pretty much saying, why are you content, or why are you happy with where you're at in life? It's really about saying your prayers are already answered as a divine course of nature, so you can't really force or push things more so than they already are. And having contentedness and awareness of that is something that's going to bring you great joy. And there's a big irony and synchronicity in this that I'm going to touch on super quick. I've been having a bit of a rough day, and I was actually walking at the mall, and I kind of had a argument with my higher power, the universe, whatever you want to call it. And I'm just like, you got to make good on some shit, because I've been busting my ass, and I really need some help right now in moving these things forward. And the universe was kind of responded back with lots of different little synchronicities that were like, I got you, I got you, I got you. And honestly, this is making me laugh right now, because it's pretty much saying things are already coming to fruition. Just get your head out of your ass and you'll see it. And I see you, universe. I see you. But this is also just saying, be comfortable with where you're at from a state of knowing. And if you don't know, continue to do the footwork until you know. Also, I would say this: if you don't know, now you know, to quote Biggie Smalls. And now we'll get into a tarot card. So we have the moon that came up. The moon really is about kind of looking at things that are underneath the surface, this revolution of things. Water represents emotions. So to me, this is asking us, myself, especially because of where my emotions have been at, and you, the listener or viewer, if you're watching this on video and not listening on the podcast, asking you to check the source of your emotions. Look into yourself and see, why do you feel the way that you do. If you've been feeling angry, this is not going to be earth-shattering to some. To some it might be. Anger isn't a solo emotion. There's other things going on. And for me, why I've been angry lately is really this sense of fear of my needs not getting met, fear of losing myself in certain situations, fear of having myself walked over. So part of personal development, if you get outside of the new age concept of not taking any real emotional responsibility for yourself and avoiding low vibe people, this, that, or the other, part of maturing emotionally and integrating your experience in a healthy way is learning to let go of your own character defects and learning to heal your own traumas so you're not triggered by everything, or so you don't respond in unhealthy patterns. Now, in my personal life, from beginning to remove some of these unhealthy patterns, and not having responses that made me feel comfortable or that made me feel safe, from removing a lot of these old behaviors that I'm exposed to in other people, is creating a lot of tension and chaos for me. I don't get high anymore, so I can't escape that way. I'm not acting out on these old behaviors a lot of the time, so I can't escape that way. So what I'm left with is having to confront stuff that makes me feel incredibly uncomfortable, makes me feel safe for all sorts of reasons, conscious and unconscious, but then having to calm myself down and sit through it. This is asking you to look at yourself on that same, I shouldn't say on that same level of depth, as deep as you can at this time, to glean as much information as you can to help yourself move forward. I'm going to draw one more card. We have the Ten of Bows. Responsibility. Bows in this deck is relative to wands in traditional tarot. This card is really saying about creating responsibility. It shows this big walk up the top of this hill. If you notice the fire on top. So fire is also relative to wands. Fire is the creative principle in esoteric circles. So it's saying part of the responsibility of, or part of responsibility is working towards this ideal, really pushing forward despite all of the strain and pressure and pain that might be associated with it, which is what I'm going through now in some context. But in order to do that, as a reward for that, I should say, you get this creative principle at the top of everything. So I've been doing a lot of listening to Brian Tracy and people like that. And one of the things he talks about at length is the Pareto principle, where 20% of what you do is going to outshine the other 80%, or 20% of what you do will generate 80% of your income. 20% of how you show up to life creates 80% of your life. And when you begin to take more and more responsibility for that and focus on what actually matters in constructing your life, you begin to enrich your life bigger, better, and you get results way quicker. Take responsibility. It goes back to the moon. Look at your emotions. Why do you feel this way? Sort it out. Going back to the Rumi card, feel your emotions and be present with where you're at. Connect with your emotions in the moment and be aware of the cycle, but know that that's going to lead you somewhere unless you're resistant to it. And then understand that all the small actions you take lead to one big tangible thing. And with that, I really, really hope that this helped you. I'm sure that it did help you. If you need a personal reading, get a hold of me. Right now, if you sign up for my newsletter, you can get 25% off your first reading. I've really redesigned my website, streamlined everything. All of my readings now are going to be in the sense of giving you cards, helping you kind of look through them, sort through them, helping you come up with actionable steps to change your own life and get some desired outcomes that you'd like. And then finally, as aftercare, after the reading, sending you Reiki so you can kind of heal from some of the stuff that comes up. Because if you're really getting a tarot reading in a real way, it's not going to be all love, light, rainbow, sunshine, kitten whiskers, and puppy dog tails. It's going to be some heavy stuff in there at times. So again, love, light, respect, appreciation, peace.